Hi everyone, I thought I'd put together a quick video showing how to do the water system design for this coffee shop example because I had to put it together anyway and I thought it would be good for you guys to see some of the speed tips that I might be able to translate obviously during that process. So yeah, let's get into it. Now if we go to design and go to water, fire and gas, I can begin by adding my cold water flow source and placing that in this plant area at the back here. When you place a flow source, you just need to enter the static and residual pressure. So I'm going to pull around 2 and 3 bar, pretty typical. And then I'm going to put in a height above floor of around 300 mil, saying that that's where my stop tap location is. So from there, I'm going to go to my equipment tab and I'm going to choose a cold water tank with a pump because we've got a space constraint here. You can see it's quite a small area with AHU already in there, and I'm going to also want to put a domestic hot water cylinder in there for the hot water plant as well. Now I can take my main pipe out of there, line it up with the connection point on the tank to make sure that when I do another left click, firstly these dashed lines will appear to make sure that that's nice and straight, and then I can click that straight into the back of that tank. Now, when I do that, I'm going to click onto the tank. It's just going to ask me what the configuration is and what manufacturer I want to use for this tank with a pump, which will give me a calculated pump duty. And it'll also tell me the storage capacity requirement based on storing the peak flow rate for a certain amount of time. So I'm going to say that I want a duty pump and I want it to be a duty point tank. So h2x will actually select the tank I need for that particular design. Now, if I go on to there now, so if I zoom out of my plant area, I can go to my equipment tab at the top and I can choose a hot water plant with return and stamp that down on the plan as well. Now, on the hot water plant, I can change that over to be a cylinder, change over the specifications of the sizes and everything like that on there. And I can go to the inlets and specify that there isn't a gas inlet on there because I'm not interested in designing that today. Just do that by clicking on this here where it says no. On the outlets, you'll also be able to turn off the recirculation if you wanted, and you can also review the flow and return temperatures as well. Now to draw the pipes again, click on main pipe at the top here. I'm going to bring pipe out of my tank. Now that's currently at 100 mil above the floor. And if I type in H, I can bring that up to around 3 meters. I'm going to run that past and through into this room here. And I'm going to bring it over to the left-hand wall to run that down the side of the building there. Now, if I want to connect that to my hot water plant, I can click on main pipe, hover over my hot water plant, and I'll know that I'm going to connect to the hot water plant because that little blue cross will appear. Now I click on that and that will take the inlet height of my hot water plant of 1.3 meters. I can do another left click, type in H to bring that up to 3 meters, and then connect that up to my reticulation main there. So that's added 2 elbows to rise that up, and then a T to connect it to my main. I could have just clicked straight on this, where h2x would have then recognized that it needs a rising pipe to connect the two. Now, that's my main reticulation for my cold water drawn. I'm actually going to bring this across, drop it down in this boxing area here to bring it underneath this countertop area. So if I bring that to around 0.5 meters, run it around the back of these machines that are also going to require some flow. And I'm going to do a right click and drag to select that pipe and delete it. Now I'm going to do a similar thing, but I'm going to use the multi-pipe tool to pick up the flow and return nodules on my hot water plant. I'm going to do a left click here, bring those out at the 300 mil height, wrap them over to this side because I want to avoid those ducts, and bring those up to around 2.9, 100 mil below my cold water pipe, just in case we have any clashing issues. I'm going to bring that over to here and then across the back of here because you can see I've got a number of sinks on both sides of this wall. Once I've done that, I'm just going to connect the hot water flow and return together and go onto my valves menu and select a balancing valve to get rid of the red squiggly line here, which is just saying that we need to have the balancing valve on the return pipe there. And that needs to be after the last connected fixture. And you'll understand that more when I go to connect my fixtures up. I'm also going to add a cold water pipe running adjacent to that to connect my fixtures to. I'm actually going to wrap it on this side of them instead. Now to add my fixtures, I'm just going to add a few kitchen sinks where they're located on the plan, rotating them using the arrows on my keyboard. The arrow direction that I choose will be based on the tap direction shown on the screen. So I just do a left click to place those wherever they are. There, and then we'll leave those. We'll use a different fixture type for those in a second. Now, because these are coffee machines, and I'm not sure what these are actually called. I think it's where they wash out the cups or whatever they do. I'm not a barista personally, but on there, you don't have to use a particular fixture. You can use a fixture node or a continuous flow node. So for each of those machines, we can say that we have a inlet required to supply a certain amount of flow rate based on a certain number of loading units, or we could choose the continuous flow rate and say that we need that certain number on there. Using the loading units, we'll apply diversification across the pipes, and we can make any edits on there as well. Now, where you've got the kitchen sink showing here, you can actually reduce the sizes as well. You can make them much smaller to match what's on the plan. And that'll help things like coordination later on when you're trying to get all the pipes and everything in place. Now, connecting these up is just a case of clicking on this pipe here, your cold water main, your hot water main, and then the kitchen sink, holding control and clicking auto connect. Do the same thing with these two here, so we can do them all at the same time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 pipes, 2 sinks, hit auto connect, and that'll route the pipe work out the back of those sinks into those main reticulations. You might have a situation like this where the calculated route isn't necessarily what you want. In that case, you can click on this cap end here after deleting that pipe, hover over the connection point over to there. Now we'll just do that one more time for this kitchen sink. Maybe connect that up differently. We hit results. H2x is then going to tell us the required pipe sizes based on the diversified peak flow rate of each of those connected fixtures or the load nodes. Now, at this point, we're actually ready to move into the configuration part of the design. So, configuration, coordination, where we can move into the 3D mode, just clicking at on this button up at the top here. And you can see we have got some clashes with pipes running through ducts, but it looks like in terms of elevations, we are missing. We just have these ducts here dropping through those ducts shown on the plan. So it looks like if we switch back to 2D mode on results, we just need to move these back and potentially move these main reticulations back as well. So if we go to design, we can move that entire pipe route across, that one across, and that one across. So that should sort those two. And then these elbows here, we can just get rid of those elbows dropping down that side of the wall, bring them over to this side of the wall. Now, obviously, there might be a little bit of work there to have to step that out and then drop that down again so that it doesn't interact with our pipe on the 3D. You can see there we're now missing, but you don't want to have pipes going directly down and next to the wall there. So you might want to be careful to draw these manually. Head over to there, bring that to just the other side of the wall. Bring that up to a height of, say, 3 meters. And then connect it in like that. And you can see that when we hit results, still does clash. We might want to move it slightly this way again. The hot water might be okay. However, we go back to design, move this back again, move this slightly back again, move this back again. We can go on to here, grab this back holding control. And then do the same with the hot water. Line that up with that. H2.9. Hit results. And we are just missing there. Might be a case of having to shift over the ductwork, to be honest. But yeah, I hope that you guys found that useful, using both the 3D for coordination and just some general tips on putting a water system design together like this one. Thanks very much. I'll see you later.